Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's
That should come up now.
all right.
I'm glad I
What
brought it
was?
up then.
Yeah,
I'm
good
glad I
find.
brought it up then.
Yeah. What was the issue?
I didn't hit the go live. I just hit the start streaming.
Oh, huh. Didn't know you had to do both.
Yeah, so we'll just cut out the introductions and we'll start over.
All right. Second week in a row, our intros have been wiped.
Listen,
Oh well.
when you have to produce this all from
Yeah,
one
I understand.
person.
Yeah.
I understand. It's not easy.
Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and check that. Now it says it's live.
It is live.
Okay.
Second week in a row, our intros have been.
You shut your mouth.
Listen, well.
When you have to produce this all,
Am I the only one who's hearing
that was my fault. It's taken care of.
All right, excellent.
Okay, so ladies and gents, it's Saturday night. We have all four of our hosts together. I just want a quick hi out of everybody. First, Dale, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dale from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and it's nice to meet y'all.
Say hi, Stan.
Hello, my name is Stan. I am just outside of DC where all the taxes go.
And if Z is ready, she can come off of her mute anytime she'd like.
Molly.
Molly. I'm sorry, Molly.
I assume she's just getting her everything set up on her end.
Probably. Okay.
Oh, apparently there is no sound on YouTube at the moment.
I can hear it.
Sorry I can't participate in the podcast. I am a bit busy.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thanks.
Take care, Molly.
See you.
There should be sound. Your channel.
It's working for me.
Yeah, it's working for me too.
Is it still? Hopefully been resolved. Can you hear anything, Z? Oh,
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Z is our QA for reference.
Yes, because I keep screwing shit up. Anyways, so we have had a tragedy in Nashville, Tennessee. A trans male walked into a Catholic school on Monday around 10 a.m. and unalived 6 people, 3 adults, ages 60, 61, and 61, and 3 children, ages 9, 9, and 8. And one of those children was, in fact, the child of the pastor of the church that sponsored the school. And now you've caught up on everything that wasn't originally live streamed to begin with.
Just a quick question. You said it was a Catholic school. Are you sure it wasn't just like a? Because
I call it Catholic. It's a Christian school.
Oh, all right, fair enough. Because I was about to say that doesn't sound right. That a pastor has a child in a Catholic school. That would be heretical. Though then again, the Catholic Church is not exactly known for its consistency. So leave it at that.
No church is known for its consistency.
Sorry about that, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Anyways, with that out of the way, first I want to say no one, and I mean no one, needs an AR-15. And everyone that's laughing right now knows that I don't fucking believe that one stinking bit. As an anarcho-centrist, I believe everyone has the right, regardless of mental illness, mental infirmness, physical infirmness, gender, sex, age, I don't care. You should own a firearm. Everyone. And it's not because I think more guns equals more better. It's because I think the majority of human beings on the face of this planet are good people that just want to live their lives. And there are some people on the face of this planet that just want to take them.
Yep. And it'll be much harder to take more lives if everyone is armed. Maybe they'll kill one person, maybe they'll kill two, but you're not going to have many mass shootings if everyone is armed.
Well, knowing about the tragedy, the response out of the right has been
Outrageous.
Yes, egregious. Not for everyone, but for quite a few. Especially some who have been very vocal advocates in favor of the Second Amendment. Such as Ben Shapiro. Now, Ben Shapiro came in and pulled a bunch of crap. And I'm going to play this for you.
It's fine. Meanwhile, you have the entire media that has rallied around the idea that Tennessee Republicans are to blame. When a trans person shoots up a bunch of Christian school kids, Tennessee Republicans are to blame. So you have the Wall Street Journal with a piece titled, "Tennessee Republicans Face Pressure After Nashville School Shooting." Oh, it's the Republicans who are facing pressure, naturally. It's not Democrats. It's not people who promote a perverse ideology suggesting the boys can be girls. None of that. No. It's the Republicans, of course. Or perhaps it is the New York Times saying, after mass shootings, Republicans expand access to guns. Right? Because, of course, the problem is the guns. It's not the problem of disturbed people in increasing numbers.
Okay, so first I want to say, no, it's not Republicans' faults specifically that these things happen. It is not the fault of them expanding access for everyone to be able to own, carry, operate. In reality, this entire thing is a failure of the entire government. They're going after the wrong things.
Yep. Surely if they just ban pistol races, all of this will stop, right? If they just ban bump stocks, no one will ever die from a gun again. If they just tax you to own an automatic weapon, surely no one will be killed by guns anymore.
So, the response out of the right, just in Ben Shapiro's case, is certainly not a desirable response. But we haven't gotten to the worst part yet.
Number of disturbed people, as we talked about yesterday on the show. It's none of that. Now, the real problem is that there are too many guns, and Republicans are complicit in that. Or perhaps Maggie Haberman over at the New York Times reporting DeSantis to visit gun store on book tour days after Nashville shooting. Dems call it beyond the pale. It's now beyond the pale for you to even be in the remote proximity of guns because somebody got shot. That is the way that all of this works, according to the left. So you're allowed to take over government buildings. You're allowed to do whatever you want. You're on the left, after all. And Republicans are the ones who are truly to blame. Meanwhile, in the second kind of line of narrative here is even more perverse than the gun control line of narrative. The gun control narrative is ridiculous in the sense that this person legally obtained the guns. I'm unaware what law would be passed that would have prevented this person from obtaining the guns.
Now, listen close, because he's about to propose the law that would take the guns from this person.
That takes us to our second narrative. The second narrative is that the true victims, the real reason this happened, the real reason a trans man shot up a bunch of Christian school kids is because right-wingers are intolerant bigots. And so the real victim here is not the Christian school kids who got murdered. Those are not the Christian school teachers who got murdered. Those, the administrators. No, none of those people are the real victims. The real victim is the shooter and people like the shooter. That is the narrative the media are drawing today. And it's vile. I mean, I'm not sure that I've ever seen the media turn this much in favor of sympathetic stories about.
Now, before he gets to it, I want to reiterate, I have no sympathy for anyone that would fire upon any innocent person, be it a child, an adult, if they are not an active, imminent, and present threat to your life or the lives of people around you. You don't shoot at them. And we'll continue.
A shooter this quickly. And you've seen it before. I mean, you saw Rolling Stone featured the Boston bomber at one point on their cover, but it's pretty rare. They don't do it all that often. And so now you have the media rushing out to declare solidarity with the trans community and the administration, by the way. So Karine Jean-Pierre, in what is the clip of the day, Karine Jean-Pierre from the White House press secretary podium, she says we have to be careful. We have to be real careful. A bunch of school kids got shot in a Christian school. You know who's under attack? The trans community, says Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yes, the trans community has now come under attack. And it's because of people like Ben Shapiro. Because he's about to say exactly what, everyone has been saying over the past week.
And one of the things that we saw during the midterm elections is that people
are literally under attack. Actually, they're dead. The people who were shot by a member of the trans community, those people are dead. It would be amazing if this administration could muster even one smidgen of the sympathy that they have for the supposed trans people who are under vast assault, for the people who actually are dead, including children. That might be nice. Like these are supposed to be the apex sympathy creatures, and yet they can't seem to muster any sympathy at all. I remember Joe Biden out there suggesting that this shouldn't be investigated as a hate crime, because after all, Josh Hawley says it should be investigated as a hate crime, or Joe Biden opening up his presser about this particular shooting by joking about eating ice cream. Weird how the sympathy just dries up immediately when the shooter happens to be somebody who has ideological kinship with a lot of left-wing causes. That's an amazing clip. Karine Jean-Pierre, I mean, literally a trans person shot a bunch of kids at a Christian school for what appear to be ideologically motivated reasons, and the immediate response of the entire media is, well, obviously the real victims are trans people.
No, Ben, it's not the reactions of the entire media. Let's not forget you are now part of the media. I mean, you do own a media conglomerate. I know Daily Wire and his company tried to absorb, Timcast,
Louder with Crowder.
Louder with Crowder, and a multitude of other companies. I think his company tried absorbing Blaze, didn't it?
They tried.
I didn't know about that one. Interesting.
So, no, it's not just the old media. It's not the old guard. It's all of media that are pushing narratives. It's just the majority of the old guard is on the left, and the majority of the new guard is on the right. And Ben having quite literally the largest conglomerate media on the right, but he doesn't count himself as the media. He doesn't. because he's not old guard. Let's keep
Well,
going. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, in his defense, slightly, I believe their position is he'll openly state that he is right wing and has a conservative bias, but the media he is referring to pretend that they're objective when they don't. And I think that's kind of his distinction when he says the media. He means the ones who the old guard, which pretends they don't have any bias or agenda or anything, and most people in right media openly like the new guard generally admits that they'll admit they're right wing and they have right wing bias,
or they'll just admit that they have bias in general. And
yeah.
that's something that I can respect, being logically consistent. But Ben is about to not be logically consistent.
Oh yeah.
In fact, Joe Biden put out a statement on Thursday morning, just a couple of days after, again, a trans man shot up a bunch of school kids, saying, it's for the Transgender Day of Visibility. Quote, transgender Americans shape our nation's soul, proudly serving the military, curing deadly diseases, holding elected office, running thriving businesses. Today, too many transgender Americans are still denied rights and freedoms. A wave of discriminatory state laws is targeting trans youth, terrifying families, hurting kids who are not hurting anyone. Well, I can think of some kids who were murdered and weren't hurting anyone. But that doesn't fit your narrative, does it? And again, this ties more broadly into that same exact symptom that we saw with regard to gun control activists taking over buildings. If trans activists take over buildings, that's also okay. So in Kentucky, there was a vote on banning transgender mutilation of children. And the governor had vetoed it, and then the Kentucky legislature passed it over the veto. Well, trans activists took over the Kentucky Capitol, and they trespassed. A bunch of them were arrested. But this was considered not only fine, but good by the media. Here's some of the footage of trans activists at the Kentucky Capitol. Oh, that is a dude wearing trans colors and giant horns and looking for all the world sort of like QAnon shaman, but as a hero because, after all, the trans activists in Kentucky then performed a die-in. A die-in is where you lie on the ground, you pretend that you're dead. You want to talk about folks who are absolutely shameless? This would be it.
Okay, Ben. Sincerely, I know that you're some sort of lawyer. I know you have a law degree. Why is it that a simple truck driver knows and understands time, place, and manner restrictions? This is the Capitol building. It's the Capitol building. There is no actual business going on in the Capitol other than legislation. At which point, if they aren't in the legislation chambers, which it appears they're not, it appears they're in the foyer, the publicly accessible areas, there's nothing really you can do. This is in fact a public forum. The public areas in the Capitol are part of the public forum. Now, if there was business going on, that would be completely different. If they took money throughout the day, they had different offices, that sort of stuff, that would make it completely different. It would restrict them. It would keep them out of the building. They'd have to do this in front of the Capitol. But that's not what's going on. Now, I'm not saying that these are good people. I'm not. But they do have the right to do this.
I do have to ask, why is it each one of these Capitol I'm not going to say these Capitol instances always have that one guy with the horns and face paint? Is this is this some sort of trope I am unaware of?
So, you want to explain this, Erica? Because I would probably do a bad job doing it.
You go ahead. You go ahead. I'm not touching this.
I'm going to do a very simple answer. So, from what I can gather, the Satanic Temple has sided with as many left instances as they possibly can, like on
That makes sense.
like on the abortion issue, on
Yep.
transgender issues, whichever. They've all tried and sided with as many not just instances, businesses, people overall. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people either in the alphabet community, I'm not speaking for Erica, I'm just saying some people have, especially on the conservative side, like Blair White, have literally said this is disturbing.
Mhm.
So having that person there with that paint, like that facial paint and the horns, it gives trans people a bad light.
Yeah.
And listen, whenever media picks up on protests like this, it's always going to be put in a bad light. I mean, January 6th,
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
light. This protest, bad light. They
Yeah.
both really had the right to do what they fucking did as long
Yep.
as they remain peaceful.
Yeah. Though on that, my question was more just along the lines of why is it like, because you mentioned January 6th, just why is there always this one person who has who's covered in face paint and has horns?
Satanic
Like,
Temple.
Yeah.
But I mean, the January 6th one, I don't think was the Satanic.
Oh
It
yeah,
was,
the shaman.
yeah, it is the shaman had. There's just some guy in face paint with horns at all of these things. This is just the left wing version of that.
I believe he was Norse pagan.
Yes.
Now we just need the centrist version of that for the next one. We have
you
the
don't
right
want the-
wing
you
Norse
don't-
pagans. We have
You
the left wing Satanists. I wonder what the centrist horn guy will be.
you don't want the centrist horn person because I'm gonna be that person, and it won't be horns. It'll be guns coming out of my fucking head. Okay, so point is made. The protest is legal so long as it remains peaceful.
Peaceful.
After kids are killed by a trans person for what appear to be political reasons, you are going to do a die-in as though you are under the threat of death from a legislature that just says that you're not allowed to mutilate children. Amazing stuff. The media, of course, buy into this. Benjamin Ryan, who again is the same NBC News pseudo-journalist, and this is the person who's had a raging desire, shall we say, to go after the Daily Wire because of our conservatism. He tried to blame the Daily Wire again for this Nashville shooting, saying, quote, Nashville is home to the Daily Wire, where Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh have led an ideological war against trans people. Ideological war against trans people? No, ideological war against a perverse radical gender ideology that says boys can be girls and that kids must be taught this. Their colleague Michael Knowles called for transgenderism to be eradicated. This is the larger social context in which the Nashville shooting occurred. Oh, well, you know. I guess the threat is, so the threat always was with trans people. The threat we were told is that if you don't give them what they want, they will commit suicide. If you don't give them what they want, then they'll kill themselves. You have to just pretend that they're members of the opposite sex. Now I guess the threat has expanded such that if you don't give them what they want, they will commit homicide. And so therefore you have to actually just give them what they want. The Washington Post is doing the same exact routine.
It's not exactly what these people are saying, but I get where Ben's coming from.
I want to get to the U.S. or commit homicide.
That would be bad.
You want to get to the U.S. so you can commit homicide.
Well, that's not entirely out of the realm of possibilities that have
Yeah.
happened.
Once you get to the U.S., we might have to cut that part out when they do their whole screening of you. You just have to self-edit that a bit.
I'll make sure to take that out in post.
Oh,
we
since sh- uh, um, Stefan is here, I actually need to go to the store and pick up some medication. So,
Okay.
right.
Well, we
Enjoy.
appreciate you being on, Stan. I hope you have a good night.
Yep. Be safe.
have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Okay. So, Ben, this is a much longer segment than I had originally thought, because what you had sent me for the discussion topics, that was what, a 2-minute video,
Yeah.
and it seems that they had edited two different parts of the same segment into each other, and I didn't even see the cut.
I do respect their editing skills then, but yeah, I was unaware that they had did that. I just saw the 2-minute video, and well, I guess that does go to show that you really shouldn't trust Media Matters even at all.
Yeah, even then, I have a feeling that what he said in that video wasn't taken out of context. We're going to play through this entire segment. There's,
Yeah.
let's see, about 4 minutes left in this segment.
By the way, and the Washington Post put out a headline stating Nashville shooting exploited by right to escalate anti-trans rhetoric. The pouncing. The pouncing has happened. Quote, the attempts on the right to connect violence to transgender people come even though transgender people are rarely the perpetrators of mass shootings, which are overwhelmingly carried out by cisgender men, according to criminal justice experts. There is a thing called per capita. I'm going to do a per capita examination. There have been 4 mass shootings carried out by people who are gender non-binary or trans in the last couple of years alone, and there are very few gender non-binary or trans people. Per capita might be something worth exploring.
Okay, so he said something very telling. He's talking about how, no, the right hasn't been talking about disarming or blaming everything on trans people. And then he goes on to do the exact fucking thing that he says they're not doing.
Yep.
Okay, so before we get to the rest of this video, I want to bring in some pictures. And this is going to take a second here. Microsoft Photos 10. No, that's not working. No, that's not the window I want.
While you are doing that, I would just like to confirm what the chat is saying. And yes, Justin Trudeau is indeed Fidel Castro's son.
Let's
Oh.
see.
that explains the socialism.
Yeah. And the tyranny.
You mean the workers' liberation, as he calls it?
Basically.
Okay.
One thing you don't want to be is a trucker in Canada.
Yeah,
Why?
kind of.
Yep, they'll freeze your bank account. even if you
Yes, they
support
will.
truckers in Canada.
Okay.
And then they'll investigate
Ah.
themselves and tell you they did nothing wrong.
Okay, so these are these are pictures from Twitter. And I know you guys can't see this at the moment. So let me go ahead and add that for you guys. Image slideshow, add existing, okay. Okay. So, going back to my live scene. You guys can see this now.
Yes.
I'm going to get to Cassandra here later. But the
Yeah.
first one is Elijah. Elijah started all of this off, says every libertarian who's made the argument of every transgender should own an AR-15 may want to rethink their worldview. Excuse me, Elijah. Excuse me. But you've spent your life in California. You've spent your entire life in California. You do not understand anything about human rights. I'm sorry if that upsets anyone in California, but I do not trust any native Californian when it comes to human rights, especially if they've only just recently moved out, like within the past couple years. Now, these pictures that are streaming for everyone, these are pictures of everyone that claims to be right-wing or libertarian in the alternative media space. So YouTube, Twitter, that sort of stuff. But Elijah started all of this off.
And I saw one of them by someone at the moment I can't remember their first name who's oh there it is, Kingsley Cortez. I just want to say on that, and you want to block anyone from who's going through hormone therapy from having guns.
Yeah,
Like
I was
you do
about to bring
realize
that up.
that trans people aren't the only people who are going through hormone therapy, don't you? There are prostate cancer patients, just in general, older men who need their testosterone supplemented, postmenopausal women who have certain diseases, one of which has a long name, and I can't remember the name of that disease. Steroid users, like, my God, can you persecute the steroid users even more than you already are, you bastards?
Well, and that's exactly the point of this. So this week I've seen tons of people bring up the 4473. And I know you're from Canada. I don't know if you understand anything about the 4473.
I know it has to do. Isn't that the criminally insane one? The one about criminal, like if
That's
you've ever been.
that's the point they try to bring up. They're misconstruing part of the background check form, which is the ATF form 4473,
Mhm.
which, by the way, is unconstitutional to begin with.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and say that the form is not unconstitutional. And let's presume that it can only ask questions that would be public record.
Mhm.
If you have spent any time getting mental health treatment, if you're on medications, that is not public record. In fact, those are private records protected by HIPAA, or not protected by HIPAA, but protected by your doctors, directed by HIPAA. So HIPAA makes it so that doctors are not allowed to release this information without your consent. So the question at that point is, well, what does the 4473 in fact say? Well, the 4473 asks if you have ever been adjudicated mentally defective or institutionalized in a psychological or in a psychiatric treatment facility. Now, everyone's like, well, what about the psychiatric treatment facility? Well, the psychiatric treatment facility is fine, but if you've only admitted yourself, that's not public record. What makes it public record is being institutionalized. What you have to do to be institutionalized is someone has to go before a judge and present enough evidence to believe, for a judge to believe that there's probable cause that you are either a threat to yourself or someone else. And then he will issue an order for you to be institutionalized. That is what it takes to be institutionalized. It takes a court order. It takes creating a public record. If those public records don't exist, it doesn't apply.
Quick question. Are you allowed or able to defend yourself in said court, or is this one of those secret courts where you don't you don't have the right to confront your accuser, and it's just basically the prosecution side arguing it in front of a judge?
You have the right to defend yourself in this court. However, most times, what will happen is a person will admit themselves, and they'll think they're fine. And so what will happen is the doctors will believe they're not fine, and they will file a petition with the court. The court will appoint a public defender for you, and you will still be in the institution. You'll be able to confer with your counsel, but when the hearing happens, you are likely still going to be inside, and so it will be the doctors or the hospital, the psychiatric institute, against your defender. And you can hire a lawyer, obviously.
Are you allowed to leave, say, once this proceeding has been initiated? Assuming you committed yourself, you're allowed to leave whenever you want. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
assuming that you've committed yourself, assuming that they've tried to forcibly keep you in the institution, and assume that the judge has issued an order against them, which would be a dismissal with prejudice, because they would bring the case. They didn't make their case, and so the judge will not allow them to bring their case again.
But what I mean, is this kind of like a trial?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So, assuming those three facts, yes, you can get yourself out anytime you want. What normally happens is you will come in, you will say, I feel as if I'm a threat to someone or myself. I would like to be admitted. They'll go through some diagnostics. They'll say, yeah, we think you should be admitted. They'll admit you for a 72-hour hold. But if they haven't started that procedure, anytime within those 72 hours or even afterwards, you can still check yourself out.
So what I meant was, let's say they initiate that procedure. Can you still leave before the judge has made their ruling, or are you now stuck as soon as the procedure is initiated, rather than when the judge says, yes, you have to stay, or no, you can leave?
There will likely be an emergency order saying that you must remain in until the hearing has been conducted. At which point, if the judge finds that they didn't make their case, you could probably sue for damages. That would be civil.
Mhm.
But the fact remains, if they don't make their case, it's not going to be public record, because the only public records that matter to the ATF are judgments against you. Not judgments in your favor, judgments against you. So that's the institutionalized in a psychiatric facility. Now, what about the first part? Adjudicated mentally defective. These are for the very rare occasions when someone's a psychopath, someone is schizophrenic, someone, there is some extraordinary measure that would make you unable to, one, aid in your legal defense if you were to ever commit a crime. Two, know the difference between right and wrong within our legal framework in the U.S. So if you are so mentally disturbed, mentally defective, to such a point where you don't understand the difference between right or wrong, or you can't aid in your legal defense.
Basically, if you're John Fetterman.
Yeah. What will happen is your family or, a lawyer or someone will file a civil case and say, I believe this person to be mentally defective. They'll go through the motions. They'll ask expert witnesses, what have you, and then a judge will either say, you are mentally defective, or they will say, you're not mentally defective. But again, there's court proceedings, and there's a public record. There's a public judgment. Both of these instances require court proceedings and a judgment. And if you haven't been judged mentally defective or been involuntarily committed through court proceedings, it's not the ATF's place to say you shouldn't have a weapon. It's no one's place to say you shouldn't have a weapon.
Mm-hmm. On that, I actually do have one question for you. I'm curious as to what not what the law says, but to your personal opinion. Do you think there is any, legitimate, point where you can disarm someone, who isn't actively committing a crime? Like, for example, someone in, a severe psychotic break suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, who there's a good chance could pose a danger to someone, but actively isn't. Do you think that there is, that is legitimate, or do you think that like no, even they should be
If
armed until they do something?
if you have a legitimate concern that they are a threat to themselves or someone else, you must file that court case.
Oh. So you are okay with that so long as the due process is like taken. So long
I'm
as you
I'm an anarchist, and I'm pragmatic about it. I understand that I have to live under the laws that we live under,
all right.
which means I'm not going to quote unquote red flag them. I am going to go the proper route within the bounds of the law because I do believe that they're a threat. But
Right.
if a judge tells me, no, they're not a threat, screw you, fine. That's fine. Let them keep their guns. I don't care. I don't. If I still feel that they're a threat to me, I'm gonna
Gonna avoid them.
I'm gonna maintain my distance. That's it.
All right. That's a reasonable compromise.
I know Legally Armed America actually tried pulling the 4473 card this week.
Hmm.
And I very clearly told him that you are falling for the exact same crap that Christian doomsday cults pull when it comes to the end times. They'll point at something and say, "See, I told you they were going to do it," or "See, I told you it was going to happen. This is proof of this." In Christian
Yep.
doomsday cults, so for instance, the one I was in, they pointed it at the Twin Towers in New York being destroyed. They pointed at that and said, "See, we're living in the end days, the final days of the end days."
Hmm.
And the rhetoric has just gotten even worse. It's now we're now living in the last day of the final days of the end
Yeah.
days. Like, how many end days can there possibly be?
Yeah. Just on the topic of that one Christian doomsday cult that you were a part of. Did they predict? Did they originally predict that the world was going to end sometime in the early 20th century? And
1914.
several times after that, also in the 20th century, and now the
1972.
21st. Yep.
They learned their lesson after 1972. They stopped. They stopped
Oh.
trying to predict that.
How did they justify? What did they argue
They
to justify their failed
no
predictions?
they didn't justify anything. They
Um,
made their predictions. When they were wrong, they tried to erase it all from their history.
ah,
And they did a
that
very
right.
successful job until the internet came around. But when nothing happened in 1914, like the world didn't end in 1914, 4 years later, a couple of the leaders were arrested in New York and indicted. I don't know what for. But they were eventually released. And the rhetoric at that point became, "Oh no, it's not the final day. It's just the beginning of the last days."
Hmm.
And the rhetoric at that point was, now the 144,000 have are, we're identifying the 144,000, or the remaining of the 144,000. They're going to heaven, and they're going to fight this great war with Satan. And when they're done, we'll be resurrected into a paradise earth.
Hmm. I would just like to note that there's that one doomsday cult that thinks only 144,000 people will be saved currently has 3 million members, and
No, it's
I
6
shall leave it
million.
at that. Oh, it went up. All right. Yeah,
It's
currently.
it's been more than 6 million since the 1995.
Hmm, interesting.
I think
I
it's
wonder. Yeah. So.
I think currently it's around 6.8 million. I know that there have been drops over the past decade.
Mhm.
Um, but anyone that has ever been a part of this cult knows that the 144,000 is the only thing that truly sets it apart from any other Christian organization in the world, or at
Mhm.
least one of the only things that sets it apart.
But being that they have more than 144,000 members, do they just like think that they aren't going to be like?
No, see the way it works is 144,000 go to heaven,
Hmm.
but God remembers everyone. God knows your heart. So if you die, you'll be resurrected into a paradise earth. There will still be a separation between heaven and earth. There will still be people in heaven, and there will still be people on earth.
I'm sorry, we just gotta segregate heaven. Sorry,
Yeah,
can't
exactly,
enter.
exactly. Because we're still not gonna be perfect. I don't know what these people have in their heads. I honestly don't.
Yeah.
But back on track, this is the exact same rhetoric that um that the left and the right have been using for the past, it feels like a decade at this point. Oh, the right just wants you dead. Mass shooting happens. See, we told you the right just wants you dead.
Hmm.
And up until recently, the past 4 or 5 years, it hasn't been anyone really left wing. But then Christchurch, um, a litany of the recent publicized mass shootings have been left wing. And so the right has had something to point at the left over. See, we told you the left wing wanted you dead. And it's
Hmm.
driving this insanity in the brains of the people that are just riding the line of sanity. It is so close to just cutting that last little thread of people's sanity. If these pundits do not stop with their rhetoric, which is what I've been talking about for months now, this will spark a civil war. It will. But it's not going to be left versus right. It's going to be left versus right, authoritarian versus anarchists. Because left and right anarchists, we're in agreement on pretty much everything. We just want to be left the fuck alone.
Hmm.
We we may disagree on economic models, but we agree on leave us the fuck alone.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring it back to Ben Shapiro. See if I can get to the major foobar that he made.
What also might be worth exploring is whether you, in fact, are participating in the radicalizing of individuals by claiming that they are under genocidal threat when people simply say that boys are boys and girls are girls. This sort of media narrative was also put forward by MSNBC. So Charlotte Clymer, who is a man who believes that he is a woman, was speaking on MSNBC. What matters here is not just what Charlotte Clymer is saying. What matters here is the chyron. Transgender Americans under siege. Not Christian school kids who are dead. Transgender Americans under siege. But Charlotte Clymer has some words about God and such.
Children are only unsafe at drag shows.
Go ahead.
You may want to. I just wanted to point out that the tweets are still kind of going are over the video.
They're over the video for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a second.
All right, it's gone now.
Yep, got it.
When a shooter shows up to kill them.
That's right.
That's where the threat is. I would challenge anyone just to get to know trans people. We are a vibrant, diverse community, as diverse as anyone else. You know, I'm from the great state of Texas. I served in the military. I go to church. every
Transgender
Sunday.
shooting
My faith is
suspect
very
sparked
important to
outrage
me.
on the right. Is that chyron?
But God made me in her image. God made me
in her
transgender.
image.
And to see these people so cynically weaponize this and exploit these children's debts and their teachers' debts, it breaks my heart. I wonder what those families are thinking right now.
My guess is that what some of those families are probably thinking is it's really screwed up that people like Charlotte Clymer are going on national TV and defending an agenda to push lies about gender to small children in order to, what, make some sort of excuse for what happened in Nashville? This is a very dangerous game. But of course, the media are fully perpetuating this game because they agree with the agenda. Agenda uber alles for the media. Everything has to be fit into the narrative. And that narrative is increasingly centered on the idea that children they should be subjected to the idea of radical gender ideology. And anyone who stands in the way of that is perpetuating both suicide and now apparently homicide.
I want to make it extremely clear, Ben. The only people doing that are the authoritarian left. But you're painting us all as authoritarian left.
We'll get to more on this in just 1 second. First, let's talk about the fact that everyone who is responsible, who has dependents, needs life insurance. It's just that simple. A good life insurance plan gives you peace of mind if something got. You can find life insurance policies that started for another, so you can trust their Shapiro. Again, policygenius.com/Shapiro. Every person who is responsible should have a life insurance policy. Be responsible. Go to policygenius.com/Shapiro. Also, folks, not many things can get me excited to visit the sad wreckage of what has become present-day New York City, but I got to chat with my old friend Megan Kelly, and that was certainly exciting and fun. We just filmed the latest episode for season 2 of my show, The Search, available to stream right now. It was fantastic to catch up with Megan.
Before I continue, Ben, I just want to make sure you know these crap ads that you run, I'm going to cut out because I absolutely hate them.
Yeah.
Talked about fame, making friends, and of course, the culture wars. Here's a sneak peek of our conversation. When you first get married and your spouse is
Guys get all the illnesses, and the mothers are not allowed.
Okay, meanwhile, the propagandistic crusade on behalf of the transgender agenda continues apace. It is amazing, again, to see what sort of behavior is excused as okay, considering that it's coming from the sort of trans community, and which behavior is considered not okay. So, for example, you're allowed to basically imply violence as much as you want, so long as you're a member of the victimized community. Here is a trans activist gushing over a book in which J.K. Rowling died.
Okay. I can't go through this video any longer. I wish I could find the line that he had.
Could you just play the tweet? Because the tweet has it in a fairly succinct minute or so.
Okay, give me a second.
All right.
Let's see.
rallied around the idea that Tennessee Republicans are to blame. When a trans person shoots up a bunch of Christian school kids, Tennessee Republicans are to blame. So you have the Wall Street Journal with a piece titled, Tennessee Republicans Face Pressure After Nashville School Shooting. Well, it's the Republicans who are facing pressure, naturally. It's not Democrats. It's not people who promote a perverse ideology suggesting that boys can be girls. None of that. No. It's the Republicans, of course. Or perhaps it is the New York Times saying, after mass shootings, Republicans expand access to guns. Right? Because, of course, the problem is the guns. It's not the problem of disturbed people, an increasing number of disturbed people, as we talked about yesterday on the show. It's none of that. Now, the real problem is that there are too many guns, and Republicans are complicit in that. Or perhaps Maggie Haberman over at the New York Times reporting DeSantis to visit gun store on book tour days after Nashville shooting. Dems call it beyond the pale. It's now beyond the pale for you to even be in the remote proximity of guns because somebody got shot. That is the way that all of this works, according to the left. So you're allowed to take over government buildings. You're allowed to do whatever you want. You're on the left, after all. And Republicans are the ones who are truly to blame. Meanwhile, in the second kind of line of narrative here is even more perverse than the gun control line of narrative. The gun control narrative is ridiculous in the sense that this person legally obtained the guns. I'm unaware what law would be passed that would have prevented this person from obtaining the guns. I'm perfectly fine with banning people who suffer from gender dysphoria from purchasing weapons.
There you go, folks.
That right
You
there.
said it.
Now, see, I didn't hear it in the YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the same video.
Masterful editing work done for Media Matters. Actually, I think I might know what happened. It wasn't actually Media Matters that edited it. If it's the episode I think it is, Ben stated in the beginning that certain bits of this episode aren't going to be on YouTube. It'll just be reserved for like paid subscribers because YouTube won't allow him to say certain things. So I think what actually happened is they were getting it from the Daily Wire's website, and they edited that out because they were worried about a YouTube content strike or something.
Okay, well, masterful. Wow. Masterful editing, Ben. Just
Yeah.
listen, Ben.
And
This right here, what you just said, editing it out so that they don't get banned on YouTube. Do you remember the discussion that was being had around the Daily Wire trying to absorb all of these other companies like Louder with Crowder?
Yep.
They wanted them to play to the YouTube algorithm. But Daily Wire doesn't have to do that. They can just selectively edit their crap and then stream everything on their... Listen, Ben, I used to love you. I used to. But you have gone downhill. So has Elijah Schaefer. So is Tim.
Yep.
Tim is just trash now. It's the same stinking thing day in and day out. Civil
War this, Civil War that.
And I get it. We are so stinking close. But if we don't either start ignoring everything that the politicians are doing, or we don't start acting as we should to get rid of the politicians to begin with, this is only going to get worse. I had posted a tweet the other day in a reply to David Hogg, good old Hoggy boy.
Yep.
Where he had said, "It's the guns." So I quote tweeted him, and I said, 2 things. 1, it's not the guns. It's you, the politicians, and the media. I forgot what the second one was. Oh yeah, I think it was "fuck you." And along with that tweet, I posted pictures of 3 of my guns.
Very nice. Were they handguns or
And
long guns?
two of them were my 2 carry pistols, my P320 and my Glock 43X. And one of them was the pistol caliber carbine that I had built last year.
Oh, you built it yourself?
I didn't like forge the parts, but yes,
Right.
I built it myself.
Hmm.
I had an upper receiver for 9mm. I had an unfinished lower receiver, but I didn't want to really do anything, so I went and bought a stripped lower receiver and put in the parts.
I see. One thing I gotta love about modern firearms is they are so incredibly modular.
Yes, that is one of the best things. Absolutely one of the best things. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put these images back up for everyone now. And I want to point out Cassandra McDonald. Cassandra McDonald, formerly Cassandra Fairbanks, is a very well-known journalist on the right. Centrist right. She has been friends with Tim Pool for a long, long time. Now, Tim has come out through several videos this week, and I hate that I've had to watch his videos. But on his live streams, on his individual segments, he's come out and very explicitly said, I do not think we should be restricting firearms from people who are just mentally ill. Well, Cassandra McDonald, she pulled some shit this week. That other tweet, the other woman in this, let me, Kingsley Cortez, if you identify as transgender and or are undergoing hormone therapy, you should not be allowed to legally purchase a firearm. One of those 2,234 quote tweets was Cassandra Fairbanks saying, does this make me a bad conservative if I agree with it?
Yes.
At which point someone said, yeah, posted a picture of the Star of Texas from the Texas flag, as well as someone holding a syringe, presumably with hormones, and at the top there's the tagline. It says, come and take it. It's the same thing that we do with firearms in the absolutist community. We do the exact same thing, but instead of a syringe filled with hormones, it's an AR. We do the exact same thing, but in response to that, let's see, why can't I find the picture? Why can't I find the picture? Did I? No, it's not there. Let's open a new window. New window. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. I don't know why it didn't get downloaded. I will go ahead and I will put this in the folder. Okay. It should come up here in just a moment. It should be right after this Ian Miles Chung one. Nope, didn't happen. Properties.
You mentioned Ian Miles Strong. I would just like to say for the record that Ian Miles Strong should spend less time having people's dogs killed.
What the fuck?
Ian Miles
Long
Chung.
story.
He tags the ATF a lot. And one of those things that is very telling about the ATF is they actually have a propensity for shooting people's dogs.
Yep. That is when they're not burning children to death. Or sniping people's wives.
Okay, so let's remove that and bring the new one in. Okay. And I've seen. Now, it should be after Ian Miles Chung. Let's see. Kingsley, Ian, and there it is. I don't actually care about the rights of crazies anymore. If I could expel all leftists to Serbia, I would.
Do you want them there,
Hey.
Malik?
No,
Yeah.
why the fuck you want to leave this place?
Yeah, well, that's kind of
So-
her point. She wants to expel us to a place that no one wants to be, but we're not even leftists. The person that posted that picture, come and take it, wasn't a leftist. They're not even an anarchist. They're a libertarian. And she thinks libertarians are crazy now. Well, I'm sorry, Cassandra, but your boss, Tim, is a left-leaning libertarian. So you want him to go to Serbia now? Like, what the fuck are you saying? And then she deletes it. After getting enough grief, she deletes it. What I think is somehow my tweet to Tim Pool got through because this was her response to everyone. Just cleaned up the timeline to avoid mass reporting nerds, not suspended or anything. Now, mind you, that was Thursday at noon. But that tweet, I don't actually care about the rights of crazies, was over a day before that. If there was mass reporting, you wouldn't be on anymore.
Yeah.
The Twitter system has been so efficient over the past month that within an hour and a half of most reports, Twitter has resolved the report. And they're fairly consistent with how they handle reports. Either it violates the policies or not. Now, what the policies are a completely different story. We're still playing by leftist policies. but at least they're being enforced consistently. They're not just being enforced against the right. They are being enforced against the left. All of these right-wing activists that say, well, Twitter's not taking down these tweets. Well, you got to report them. If you want them gone, you've got to report them.
Yeah. Also, I would just like to say to Cassandra's point about not caring about the rights of quote-unquote crazies, I would ask her to look up on Google the term sluggish schizophrenia. And if you're laughing, I assume you know where I'm going here. Ask yourself, is the American Psychological Association more left or more right?
Let's go ahead. Let's go
All
ahead
right.
and look this up on stream.
Yeah, let's see what this means here.
Sluggish
And schizophrenia. Let's just pull up the Wikipedia page real quick and let's see what it has to say.
It's Russian.
Soviet specifically.
Yes, was diagnostic category used in the Soviet Union to describe what was claimed to be a form of schizophrenia characterized by a slowly progressive course. It was diagnosed even in patients who showed no symptoms of schizophrenia or other psychotic disorders on the assumption that these symptoms would appear later. It was developed in the 1960s by Soviet psychiatrist Andrei Snev. See, I need your help. Or Molly, I need your help.
Oh.
I can't pronounce that last name.
Okay, Andrei, can you hover over it? Nevsky.
Nevsky?
Yes, Snezhnevsky. Jesus.
Snezhnevsky. Okay. Andrei Snezhnevsky and his colleagues, and was used exclusively in the USSR and several Eastern Bloc countries until the fall of communism starting in 1989. The diagnosis has long been discredited because of its scientific inadequacy and its use as a means of confining dissenters. Fucking dissenters. God damn it, Cassandra.
Yeah. And if you think, Cassandra, that this sort of thing will not be turned back on you with the fucking communists who run all these medical associations, then quite frankly, you're a fucking idiot. Excuse the language for you two.
Don't excuse the language. There is no excuse for YouTube. Okay? We are past the point of decorum at this point. We are an hour and a half into our podcast, even though it's only been so long for the actual audience. We are so far into our podcast that I have no patience left for anyone. Cassandra, I am going to speak to you very clearly, very succinctly, and I'm going to say this to Tim as well. There needs to be public action. Public action. Cassandra needs to not just delete tweets and then suggest that she was cleaning up her timeline to avoid mass reporting nerds. If there were mass reporting nerds, her tweets would have been down within hours of those tweets going up. No, that's not what this is. We know she's lying. You know she's lying. And Cassandra, you know you're lying. Stop lying to people. People absolutely hated it when Trump lied to them, even when it was things that didn't fucking matter. We hated it when Trump wouldn't pardon Snowden. We knew he was lying why he wouldn't pardon Snowden.
Yep. Didn't pardon Ross, didn't pardon Assange, but pardoned some rapper.
Yeah, pardon some rapper, but don't pardon 3 people that have exposed absolute corruption in the U.S. government. Don't pardon them. Don't pardon the whistleblowers. Just pardon some rapper.
Yep. Don't pardon the guy who's currently serving 120 years for making a website. Don't pardon him of all people.
Now,
Pardon some rapper.
I still voted for the guy. I did. I knew he wasn't going to pardon Assange or Snowden, the 2 people that I really wanted him to pardon. I knew he wouldn't because he's part of the machine. The only reason why I voted for him to begin with is to watch the government fall to its knees. And as long as there's someone that makes the active people, the people that are demonstrating on a daily basis, fall to their knees and cry and make the rest of the country just go insane, that's what we need to get rid of the government in its current form. Now, I'm not saying that the resulting government is going to be any better, but as long as it's the downfall and we can start rebuilding correctly, I'm down for it.
Yep. Even though I am Canadian, I still very much hold the opinion that the American administrative state needs to be burnt to the ground immediately. It is unacceptable.
So I had told one of my Twitter followers that I was going to bring up a theory that I've been developing over the past decade. It's called mob displacement mentality, or displaced mob mentality. Now, I didn't start seeing the pattern until around 2012. I think that was the second Virginia Tech shooting. But around 2012, I started to realize that there was a pattern to these highly publicized mass shootings. And it was operating in a mob mentality. Now, you understand how mob mentality works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone in the audience that doesn't know how a mob mentality works, you got someone outside, they say, fuck the government. You know, there's going to be a couple people that like that message, so they'll join. Now you got 5-10 people saying, fuck the government. But now, there's only random people coming by. They don't know why these people are saying fuck the government. They just know that they are. And they're a group. So, one by one, people start coming in. They'll start saying, fuck the government. And soon that group grows. 20, 50, 100 people. No one knowing why they're saying fuck the government. But they're saying it because we're social creatures. Now, the same thing happened with mass shootings, for the most part. The first several mass shooters, like publicized mass shooters, they did it for a reason. They were bullied. They were treated as the absolute scum of the earth. And they wanted vengeance. I'm not saying it's right. It's not. But that's why they did it. And I understand that. But then you get further down the road, and things become a bit more hazy. You've got the church shooter down in Texas back in
Is that the Sutherland Springs shooter?
yes, Sutherland Springs. What was that? 2016?
I think it was 2017.
Okay, 2017.
And just to add, stopped by a man named Stephen Wilford with an AR-15.
Yes.
Stopped by a good guy with a gun.
Now, we know this guy's history. We know he shouldn't have had a weapon to begin with, and had the feds done their job, he wouldn't have owned a weapon, at least not in a legal sense. Any weapon he would have acquired would have been unlawfully acquired. But the Air Force didn't do their job in reporting his court-martial, his felony offense, to the FBI. And so the FBI couldn't do their job, and he bought an AR from a gun store, and he was able to pass the background check. We don't know why he did it. We don't know about any manifesto. Let's fast forward to the Christchurch shooting in New Zealand. We got a manifesto.
Yep.
But it's a bunch of frickin' nonsense.
Yeah.
It's gobbledygook. I mean, you guys have seen Dexter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, when Dexter is, I think it's the second season where Lundy is on to the Bay Harbor Butcher, and the Bay Harbor Butcher releases a manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes through it, he realizes this is just a bunch of nonsense. This isn't saying anything.
Was that the one where he said, like, I'm pretty sure it was just a bunch of trolling where he said Candace Owens made him do it or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It basically boiled down to accelerationism and bullshit trolling.
Well, and the same thing happened with the Buffalo shooter. All of these mass killers that have come out with manifestos, it's all nonsense. It's all been nonsense, and it will all be nonsense for the rest of time if we don't start doing something about displaced mob mentality. Now, the theory in and of itself is you have the mob, but the mob is not in one place. These people who are seeing this and saying, yeah, fuck the government, they're not all in the one place anymore. And they don't have to be, because we don't have a traditional society where everyone gathers in one place to hear a person speak. So
Yep.
now this mob is growing and growing and growing, and people agree with what's being said or what's being done. They don't know why it's being said or why it's being done, but they agree And so they're going to do the same thing.
Hmm.
That's displaced mob mentality or mob displacement mentality. Which, if you've ever read Michael Crichton's book Prey, you will understand that that's part of what's called emergent behavior.
Is that the one with the monkeys?
No, that's the Congo.
Oh yeah, yeah, Congo.
No, Prey is the one with the nanites, the nanoparticles that have infected the main character's wife.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a good one. And if you want to listen to it, I've got it. But basically, a bunch of frickin' scientists out in the desert create these nanoparticles out of E. coli and create nanobots that can swarm. And eventually, these nanobots, based on their programming, evolve to better survive and better achieve their goal. But they weren't given a goal in the first place. So now they're infecting people and they're taking control of their bodies and they're making nearly perfect replicas. It gets very intense near the end of the book. And it's very dull throughout most of it. But that's how I came to understand the idea of emergent behavior. And how humans are very simple beings when you break it down to, is this a behavior that was developed over time? Is it a new behavior or what? Because, I mean, take a look at gun control. We've tried it. We have tried it all. It doesn't work. But people are still doing it. They're caught in this loop. And one of the ideas behind emergent behavior is when you encounter a problem, you have one of three choices. You can brute force it. You can keep doing what you're doing until it works. Now, generally, programs that operate under brute force eventually have a loop back cancellation. They will say, okay, we've tried this for too long. It's not working. Let's try something else. But in nature, if they encounter a problem, they'll try brute forcing it. Then, if that doesn't work, they'll try going around the obstacle. And if that doesn't work, they'll try something new. With humans, it's just making better weapons. If I can't get over it and I can't brute force through it, maybe I'll just drop a bomb. Destroy it. Kind of like a doorway. Doorway's locked. Try to kick it in. Nope, doesn't work. Keep trying to kick it in. Doesn't work. Are there windows? No windows? Okay. I'm going to shoot it down. New solutions. But gun control is just the brute force of this entire discussion. It doesn't work.
and I would also like to say that it seems that France never got the memo in that go around it part of the solution in uh between World War One and World War Two, if you know what I mean.
Listen, most of Europe didn't get the go around it solution.
Yeah.
And
We're just going to build all these fortifications along this one small line. That'll stop Germany from getting us.
well, and that's the problem. But humans are simple creatures. Like I said, you've got three solutions or three solution patterns. It's just learning what your patterns are and saying, okay, this is enough. Let's try something different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my damn batteries are not working in this stinking thing.
What thing?
Oh, I'm trying to vape.
Oh.
I've been without nicotine for too long.
Mm.
I start to get extremely agitated without my nicotine.
Mm.
If Cassandra was here, I could probably wring her neck. That's not working. Maybe I need new batteries. Maybe. Or maybe I just need to move things around a little bit more. So we are coming up on 2 hours. We're about 12 minutes away from 2 hours. We were going to talk about something else besides just this. I forgot what the discussion was, though.
Yeah, me too. I knew we had a second topic, but I'm kind of blanking on it right now. Was it the TikTok ban?
Oh, yes, the TikTok ban.
Which is basically just government wanting to throw you in jail for 2 decades if you use a VPN.
Listen, the TikTok ban is basically the Patriot Act 2020 edition.
Yeah.
The, the Patriot Act basically let the government decide who they want to categorize as terrorists and then, Fed style rendition you into prison without a trial and hold you indefinitely.
Yep.
This quote unquote TikTok ban is the Patriot Act 2.0. They get to rendition you. You do not get a fair trial. And it violates, I don't know how many constitutional amendments. First,
Fourth, especially the
fifth,
fourth. Yeah.
14th.
The second.
Well, I don't know about the second, unless you put up a fight to begin with.
Don't let them fool you. They're always coming from the second.
You mentioned the fourth. What is the 14th Amendment again?
The 14th Amendment is the Supremacy Amendment. It basically tells all of the state governments, if we make a law and you have a law that is in direct contradiction of our law, your law is null and void. Our law takes supremacy. But the feds kind of screw up in that their laws also have to be checked against the Constitution, and the Constitution has been skirted for the past century, more than a century now.
Yep.
I don't know if we've talked about this, but we're not even supposed to have a standing army.
You're not even supposed to have a standing army?
We are not supposed to have a standing army. A navy and a Marine Corps, perhaps an Air Force, those are fine. But you cannot pay for those things with taxpayer dollars. In fact, what's supposed to happen is it's all supposed to become private sector. The Navy, the Marines, anything that is protective outside of the U.S., outside of U.S. borders, it's supposed to be privately funded. And only in a time of war, can the U.S. government come to the people and say, give me your money so we can fund the army and the war that we're in. But we haven't been in a war since World War II.
Well, what about the Vietnam War and the Korean War and all the other stuff?
Those weren't wars. Those were.
But it has
those-
war in the name.
It doesn't matter if it has war in the name. Those were police actions.
Yeah.
Congress did not declare war.
I actually didn't know Congress never declared war in Vietnam.
Congress has not declared war since World War II. But what we've basically said is this is a state emergency. This is a state emergency, and instead of going to war against a country, we have gone to quote unquote war against ideologies. You had the war on communism, i.e., the Cold War. Now you have the war on terrorism, i.e., the war on Islamic extremists. Or at least that's how it started.
Yeah.
It's all the same shit.
We can also refer to that one and as the war on behalf of our greatest ally.
The war on behalf of our greatest ally. Go. I want you to expand on that.
The war for Israel, basically, right? We're gonna declare war on all of Israel's enemies and smash them. Syria, Libya, Iran, Iraq, all have one thing in common. They all have a mutual they're all in a mutual conflict with one very small Middle Eastern country that happened to steal America's nukes, attacked an American ship in the 70s, and continuously occupies the sovereignty of its neighbors and brutalizes a minority of people that live in what are allegedly its borders. Cough, Palestine, cough.
Palestine, yes.
Where
How dare they?
It has been proven that they don't allow shoes in Gaza.
No shoes.
Yes. Among all the prohibited goods that they have, like, in court, it has been shown that they do this specifically punitively. While they claim it's for national security, they are specifically punitively denying basic goods into that country. And as I said, it just so happens that, well, a couple things. One, all of those countries we invaded and toppled and created civil wars in were all enemies of that country. And there is a large segment of the US population, and specifically leaders in the US, who believe that in order for the end times to come and for Jesus' second coming, that country needs to exist. And that is a very large amount of the US population that believes this.
Listen, well, I believe that we should protect our allies, i.e., Israel. I also believe that Israel
Is
mostly,
actually real.
mostly the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. These fuckers are crazy. Okay, these fuckers are extremely crazy. I told you guys last week, you don't fuck with a Georgian Marine, right?
Mhm.
Besides the U.S. military, there's one more military that you don't fuck with, and it's the IDF.
Yeah.
They're crazy. Now, you want to take weapons from someone in the U.S., take it from the IDF. They're crazy. Okay. No,
And
actually, I want them to have firearms because those people, let me tell you, they are good at what they do.
I have a question.
Yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
yeah.
So, who thought that this proposed bill would be a good idea, and why did they think it would be a very good idea to include everything that's like on the bill?
I can actually answer both of those questions in one word.
Statists.
Tyrants, that
What?
too, but tyrants, and the
Um,
why for reasons of tyranny.
Let's see. Let's go to the Associated Press. It looks like uh it was pushed by Senator Hawley.
That's a shame.
Senator Josh Hawley tried to force a Senate vote Wednesday on legislation that would ban TikTok from operating in the U.S., but he was blocked by a fellow Republican as lawmakers in both chambers are still trying to figure out what action, if any, is appropriate against the social media app. Hawley
Oh,
called TikTok. Go ahead.
so did any of you see that video where I believe it was on Jesse Waters' show? Lindsey Graham, who was a sponsor of the bill, went on the show and took a stance in opposition to the bill he co-sponsored.
what? Why?
I
I
haven't
don't
seen
know.
that.
It was pretty great, and at some point, Jesse Waters does point that out to him. Like well, he's co-sponsored the bill he's now decrying on TV.
Yeah, so Hawley called TikTok digital fentanyl and argued it would give the Chinese government access to data from 150 million American users. His bill would block and prohibit U.S. transactions with TikTok's parent company, Beijing-based ByteDance Ltd., within 30 days. The bill sends the message to communist China that you cannot buy us. Republican
Yeah.
Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky objected to Hawley's motion, arguing that trying to ban an app would violate the Constitution and anger the millions of voters who use it. Speech is protected whether you like it or not, Paul said.
Yep. But no, of course they need to ban the Chinese from stealing America's data. That's the NSA's job. Those damn Chinese are taking U.S. jobs.
They ain't
Good
taking
U.S.
shit.
spying jobs.
They ain't taking shit that we're not giving away.
Yep.
You want to fix outsourcing? Do what Trump did. And listen, I hate it. I absolutely hate saying that Trump did good things. I don't like the dude. But he did some good things. Like intimidating automotive manufacturers to bring jobs back to the US. Yeah, prices rose, but jobs increased wages increased, our GDP increased. We didn't see massive inflation. What do we see with massive inflation? Outsourcing, rise in prices, unemployment.
Yeah. I will say though one thing. Unfortunate. I find unfortunate he didn't do is, well, one of the reasons why the U.S. basically one of the reasons why Detroit is basically like destroyed is because at the moment, and maybe it's changed since then, but I'm pretty sure he didn't change that. An entry level automotive like manufacturing job by law in the state of or in Detroit has to be six figures, which is absurd. Like you are not legally allowed to pay any employee in an manufacturing plant in Detroit less than $100,000 a year.
Well,
And like
well,
at that point, of course they're gonna move out to places like China and Mexico. That's absurd.
we're gonna go ahead and we're going to end that segment, or at least this live stream. We are going to continue on with a after hours, which I'm still trying to find where I'm going to put the after hours for subscribers. But I'm going to go ahead and end that. So,
All right.
Molly, go ahead, say goodbye to the audience.
Bye bye. Hello.
Au revoir.
And I'm going to go ahead and play some music for the outro for you guys. Give me just a second here.